What's up, Terps fans? Welcome into another Fear the Podcast. Maryland has another basketball game coming up here after a little bit of a layoff. They host number 12 Purdue, who is 17-4 overall and 7-3 in the Big Ten, and Maryland, who is not. They're 8-12 overall, 1-8 in the Big Ten. The game is Sunday at 1 p.m. at Xfinity Center. I will also be in the house for this one. It kicks off an 8-game slate this month for the Terps. So February, only 28 days, but 8 Terps games. So more Maryland basketball. Yay. Let's break the whole thing down. This is an interesting one for the Terps. This is a fun game to have on the schedule. Everybody gets excited about Purdue typically. Historically, the Terps have played them tough. So this was something to be excited about when you bought your tickets for the preseason. It was certainly my thinking going in. This is one of the ones, my wife circled on the calendar as a game she wanted to go to as well, just given the prestige attached with the Purdue program, but hasn't been as marquee a matchup as either team maybe would have expected. Obviously, a down year for Purdue relative to where their expectations were is still something I would happily take as a Maryland fan. Purdue comes into this one having lost 3 in a row, which is kind of a unexpectedly tough stretch for them. And I don't know, if you're them, you're probably feeling great about this against a 1-8 Big Ten team in Maryland as like a get right game for you. But we'll see. We'll see what you think after this one, if the Terps can make anything of this. This game will be the annual cancer awareness game, which is awesome. So the Terps will feature cancer survivors during, I think, halftime, pregame, things like that. And they'll also wear special white uniforms with a little bit of pink trim. I think all of us have a family member that is a cancer survivor at this point. I certainly do. Shout out my mom. So hopefully she's listening to this. Maybe not. Maybe she's checked out on the Maryland season too. But it's nice to see them, honor people that have been through that. So hopefully it's a nice celebration for them. Always like the white unis anyway, and a little pink trim on them. Sounds pretty cool to me. I mentioned this is a 8-game month for the Terps. 4 of those games are at home, though, which is nice. So it's, kind of good to be home on your home court a little bit more. 4 of the games that they have coming up this month are against 4 teams in the bottom half of the conference standings. So maybe some opportunities there to scratch out a few wins if you're the Terps. Probably a little less likely for 2 of the opponents that they'll play. Purdue, obviously ranked 12th, and then Nebraska at the time of this recording is ranked 5th in the country. So they also will be another tough one for the Terps here. So we'll see how that goes. When we get there, we'll obviously preview that one too at this point. But I mentioned Purdue's coming in. They've lost 3 games in a row here. They truly cannot afford to lose a 4th game in a row, especially to a Maryland team like this. If they want to get where they want to get. Like, seeding is going to be important for a team that has title expectations. And, this is kind of loss that would really set that back from a seed line perspective. I would think is probably a quad 3 result, I would imagine. But I would have to double check that. They've got multiple dudes that can shoot threes, so there's actual threats out on the court. They've got 2 big burly rebounders, especially in Trey Kaufman-Renn and Oscar Clough. Obviously, Daniel Jacobson can come in. Like, they can get even bigger if they want to. Jacobson's like 7'3" or something like that, but it depends on what they list him at, I guess, in their actual media guide there. But they've got probably the most competent ball handler in the country in Braden Smith, so not even really a team you can press or speed up. Not that the Terps seem to want to do that all that often here. So he's somebody that could really, truly pick apart this Maryland defense. And I just don't know who the go-to established point of attack defender is for the Terps anyway. So I'm really curious to see who draws the majority of the time on Braden Smith. I'm sure a lot of people will get the matchup or the assignment throughout the course of the day here, but who's his primary defender? Is it someone like Mills, who has the athleticism and the speed and the size to make maybe life a little uncomfortable for him, but isn't probably the most disciplined defender as a guy who's essentially a freshman? He's obviously a redshirt, but playing his first set of games in college basketball this year, so that's a tough ask of a guy who will be in the short list for National Player of the Year here if Purdue turns this thing around and finishes strong in the Big Ten. Just a cool matchup here, I think, is Braden Smith against Diggy Coit. 2 guys that are small in stature relative to Power 5 starting guards that are doing pretty well here. For Smith, he averages 15 points per game and leads the nation with 9 assists per game. He's going for the all-time assist record in the country. Already set it for the Big Ten earlier this year here, passing Michigan State's Cassius Winston. So shout out to him for that. In his 4 games against Maryland, though, he's averaged 16 points, which is a little above his current season average, but only 5.8 assists, so scores a tiny bit more and doesn't assist quite as much. So I don't know, maybe there's something to that if you're the Terps. He's not a particularly good defender, I wouldn't say. So will he spend any time on Diggy Coit? I kind of doubt it. He'll probably get whoever they think is the easiest matchup for him to kind of coast on, and realistically, he'll probably like sag off of Mills or Adams or one of those kind of guys and try to play a little more help defense. But Diggy Coit is coming in on a pretty good stretch himself here. He earned a number of awards last week. After the performance against USC and Penn State, he was named Big Ten Co-Player of the Week, AP National Player of the Week. Was one of 5 USBWA National Player of the Week honorees when he averaged 36.5 points that week and shot 13 of 26 from deep. So that's really cool to see that he got some recognition. Things have not gone as great since then for the Terps here, getting blasted by Michigan State, but that's okay. It is what it is. Fletcher Loyer is another guy here that's a big name. If you followed the Big Ten at all, followed Purdue at all, you know he's been a core staple of what they're doing here. He's kind of having a tough stretch right now as a part of this losing streak, averaging just 6.5 points over their last 4 games. So for Maryland, he is a dude you want to keep in that slump. If you're Fletcher Loyer, you're probably thinking, oh, this is awesome. This is a slump buster for me because the Terps allow teams overall to shoot 37% from 3, which is just kind of atrocious for a supposedly defensive-minded team. But Fletcher Loyer, this is probably a get-right game for him specifically when you see that kind of stat line. Maybe someone that guards him against either Mills or someone like Adams. Darius Adams, we need more from in this particular game here. Averaging 11.9 points per game on the season, which is pretty good, but just 12 total points over the last 2 games. That's not going to be enough to get this one done. Maryland will need secondary scoring from somebody. Trey Kaufman-Renn is a name, again, you're familiar with if you've watched any Big Ten basketball at all over the last couple of years here. Coming off his best game of the season individually against Indiana, scored 20 points, shot 64% from the field, but didn't get a win. So it was against a not particularly good Indiana front court, but that wasn't the recipe for success for them because Indiana made a lot of shots. So not been as great on the glass overall this season, but actually that's not true. He's at 8.3 rebounds per game. Still pretty good, but just not been the 20 and 10-ish level guy he was last season here, averaging 13 and 8. Solomon Washington, I would imagine, gets the matchup on him for most of the night here. Really important for Solo to just limit him and try to keep him further away from the basket, make him more of a perimeter jump shooter. Kaufman-Renn is like one of the few big dudes that has just like this elite floater, and it's just really tough to score. It's like kind of Antoine Jameson-y with the scoop shots and some of the touch shots he makes. So Solomon, I would love to see him just be aggressive and keep him further away from the basket would be nice. The big new addition for them this year is Oscar Clough, a center that comes in, is Australian. He looks Australian. He's got like sort of the mullety haircut that only Australian guys can pull off. He looks like he probably just slugged like a Foster's in the locker room before the game. Just kind of that rugged Aussie vibe, you know. But he's just a big-ass dude, and he actually had a tough outing against Indiana, which was weird considering they have very little front court depth. 2 points and 6 rebounds in that loss. But before that, not doing pretty good overall here. He's averaging 5.7 points and 4.7 rebounds over their last 3 total games. He was a walking double-double for them for a while. So if they can get him going again, it really accelerates what they want to do offensively and helps them a lot defensively too if he can limit possessions and control the defensive glass. But he's just a load. He's a big dude. And I would expect to see some Colin Metcalf minutes here just to get like another big body on him just for some stretches of this. I think probably the best thing you could hope for is that he guards Elijah Saunders, who maybe has the beef to keep him away from the rim a little bit. And then on the flip side, if you're Saunders, we need him like running stuff to get him open threes the whole game to try to pull Clough away from the basket. And then that probably, because Saunders is the best three-point shooter of the group of the bigs there, doing a pick and roll game with him and to Equate is probably something I'd really try to exploit if I were the Terps here, because Clough just is getting eaten alive in pick and roll defense. They switch almost everything, which is something they got killed with even sometimes with Zach Edey. So I'm a little surprised that that's something they're so steadfast about. But in their loss to Illinois pretty recently, Keaton Wagler, who is light years better than anybody the Terps has and will be Terps have and will be a top 10 pick, but he ate Clough alive in switches. I think as shifty as Diggy is, that's something that you should still try to look to exploit. I don't know. Clough was probably the best rebounder in the country last year, I would say, or close to it. He transfers in from South Dakota State, where he averaged 17.5 points and 12.3 rebounds. Before that, he was at Washington State, where he averaged about 7 and 4.5. So he played with some of these other Terps, like Isaiah Watts and Miles Rice as well. So they'll have familiarity with his game. Again, in Purdue this year, he's averaging 11.3 and 7.7 rebounds. So still really good despite even this little tough stretch here overall. But yeah, he's a guy that if you're Maryland, you got to figure out a way to just keep off the boards or keep him off second chance points as much as you can here too. The Terps are 6-10 all time against Purdue. Purdue has won 4 of the last 5 games. The Maryland win in that stretch was in College Park, basically 3 years ago. February 16th, 2023, 68-54 victory, which was ranked, Purdue was ranked number 3 in the country at the time. So it was a court storm for the Maryland fans that were in attendance for that one. Hopefully they get something to cheer about in this game too. That'd be great. But overall, this is a really competitive series. The teams have met 17 times in their history, and they've played one of the most competitive stretches in the Big Ten during that. Purdue leads the series, like I said, 10-6, including 10 wins in the last 14. So they're on a little bit of a run here recently. But despite that lead, Purdue's been outscored by Maryland by about 10 total points. So yeah, 10 total points. It's 1,067 to 1,057 in favor of the Terps. Low scoring, both averaging around 66 points per game there. In 12 of 16 meetings, the games have been decided by single digits, including 6 games by a single possession. So that's pretty interesting. They had a 4-game stretch there where the point spread was 3 points, 1 point, 1 point, 3 points. So this has historically been a really good matchup, and I don't think of this as being like a rivalry at all or anything like that, because there's no real like juice to it. If you're Purdue, you've got Indiana and Illinois and all these other teams where you've got more history, but Maryland's played them well, and under Matt Painter, they've been good the whole time. All but one of their 10 wins have been decided by single digits, and the one win that wasn't came in its last trip to College Park, where they beat Maryland pretty handily. But anyway, we'll see. We'll see if the Terps can get back on that. Purdue ranks top 25 nationally in assist-to-turnover ratio. They're second in the country. Offensive efficiency, second in the country. Assists per game, third. Turnovers per game, 10th. Field goal percentage, 12th. And three-point percentage, 20th. They also only average 3.5 turnovers per game, which is the second lowest average in school history. And in Big Ten play, they're only averaging 8 turnovers per game. So for a Maryland team that needs all the help it can get offensively and needs a few free baskets or runouts or things like that from its opponent, they're not really going to get that from Purdue, unfortunately. This is a very secure team with respect to holding on to the ball, and that makes me really question where the Maryland offense is going to come from in this one. And just going with that, Maryland has the least efficient offense in the country, just barely over 40% from the field so far this season, only averaging 73 points per game, which isn't great. And they're also allowing the most points per game in the conference, the third most fouls per game in the conference. So why is the fouls per game specifically important? Maryland wants to get to the foul line a lot themselves. Purdue probably not going to put you there a ton. And then on the flip side, one of the big Achilles heels for this Purdue team has been not getting to the free throw line a whole lot. I think they were so surprised to get there a decent amount of times against Indiana. They actually missed a bunch in that loss. They're 344th in free throw rate this season, which is kind of crazy. That's about a 200 some spot drop from where they were last year, which wasn't even all that great. So they're last in the Big Ten in that, which is interesting. They score around the rim a lot. They just do not get fouled, which is kind of crazy. And Maryland has fouled a lot, as I mentioned. So putting them on the line and giving them free points is just not a particularly good strategy here overall. So just getting into predictions here, I won't belabor this one any longer than it needs to be. That's all just a bad recipe for a Maryland team that just wants to get some Big Ten wins to save face here down the stretch. I mentioned those 4 games against the bottom 4 in the conference. If I'm Maryland, I'm focusing my energy on winning those instead. Not saying roll over in this one, but just if this is another brutal performance, I wouldn't be ultimately all that surprised. Maryland's just 1-8 in the conference this year. That's tough, but those losses have come by an average of 19.5 points per game, which just sounds worse when I say it out loud. I knew that to be true, like from just experiencing all those games, but when you say it, it feels particularly gross. I want to wash my own mouth out with soap. After that one here, every single one of Maryland's 8 conference losses has been decided by double-digit points, so I think that's a guarantee here, even at home. I'm going to go Purdue 86, Maryland 64, which feels disrespectful to even say about my alma mater, but that's just where we are this season. If you want some glass half full, good news stuff, go over to InsideMDSports.com. Jeff and the rest of the IMS crew have had some great reporting on some of the cool things they're doing in terms of recruiting, so I'll tease it with that. So there is hope for the future. We just need to get some of these guys on campus next season and hope for the best. I'll be back to break this one down in a post-game recap after the fact. I will be at the game, so probably will not do the recap immediately after. I'll do some media stuff and then maybe come home and do it timing-wise. So maybe a little later in the evening if you're interested in checking out the recap live. Hopefully I'm wrong and the Terps exceed all expectations and pile on the Purdue losing streak here to make them 4-game losers in a row. That would be awesome. It would be like a saving grace of the season to just see us play spoiler a little bit. But selfishly, I'm never that lucky personally to see that kind of performance. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Just be competitive. I want to see some Darius Adams shot making. I want to see him get to the rim a few more times here as well. Just something from any of the young guys I think would be a nice surprise here. Maybe a good Alex Alston game, something like that. I'm not picky. Let us know what you think in the comments. What's your prediction for this one? Any key stats or aspects of the games I missed? I always appreciate hearing from you guys and the feedback throughout. And like I said, we'll be back to cover more Maryland basketball throughout the season here on Fear the Podcast and IMS Radio.